And now, broadcasting live from the Ginger and Baker studio in the heart of the Music District in beautiful Old Town, Fort Collins, Colorado. It's Live at Lunch here on KRFC 88.9 FM. Streaming live at krfcfm.org. I'm your host today, David V., and today's special musical guest is Christopher Smith and Friends.
This is Brian. This is Wolf. This is Andy. This is Tom. And this is Linda. My name is Chris. 1, 2, 3. It's a long, long road to get back home. It's been a long, long time since I set out on my own. I never thought I'd ever miss that turn again. But then, here I am back where they said you can't go back again. Trying anyway. Oh, it's hard to find a harder place to find than going home. Somewhere on the way, I lost my way, and I've changed directions too many times to say I was fooled by all the northern stars in the night, while time ain't waiting around for us to get it right. I know, but I'm trying anyway. Oh, it's hard to find a harder place to find than going home. Belong. Oh, to be yourself and be at peace after all you've done. This if you happen to find, then you'll find your turn. It's time to stop and build a road and fire and try like hell to knock it burn. I'm trying anyway. It's hard to find a harder place to find than going home. Yeah, it's hard to find a harder place to find than going home. And it's hard to find a harder place to find than going Just give me an open road to something better. Now I'm on my way, the highway's unfolding like a winding snake that I ain't controlling. But I won't get bit if I can remember all the charms I ever saved for something better. Take me down to a better day, where I can ride and slice all these nights away. 'Cause I'm a lonely, lonely man, doing the best I can to find a vein, right into an open lane, to this rolling heart. Passing lane, my motor is croaking like a guitar with twang and 3 strings are broken. But the windows are down, I'm moving out the first in the sunset on the road to something better. So I say, take me down to a better day, where I can ride and slice all these nights away. 'Cause I'm a lonely, lonely man, doing the best I can to find a vein, right into an open lane. Hey, take me down to a better day, where I can ride and slice all these nights away. 'Cause I'm a lonely, lonely man, doing the best I can to find a lane, right into an open lane, to this rolling heart. This rolling heart.
Christopher Smith and friends here on KRFC's Live at Lunch. You did a little bit of an introduction there of the band,
Little bit.
but I'll finish up here and do a
Please.
little bit more. Christopher Smith, of course, on vocals and guitar.
Howdy.
From Lafayette, Colorado native, a rarity here in Colorado.
Very rare, yeah.
Linda Flinkman on keyboards and the accordion. Sounding beautiful over there. You live in Boulder right now, don't you? Yeah. California native. All right. And Brian Bodley on drums back there, living in Golden. He's also a native Coloradoan.
Yes,
How you
sir.
doing?
That's correct.
And Tom Pakele, I'll get it right. Harmonica and vocals.
I'm sorry, that was my fault.
It's all right, man.
And let's see, your family's Hawaiian, but you're from California
that's right.
originally? Yeah.
That's right.
El Dorado Springs is where you reside these days. Beautiful area. Andy Harrington on bass and vocals from Lafayette, Colorado, and Connecticut originally.
Connecticut originally.
Yeah, and that is a fantastic bass you've got there that you built yourself, apparently.
I did.
You're a
Thank
luthier then, huh?
you. About every 5-10 years.
Okay. I'll bet it took a while. We'll talk about that a little bit here. And then let's see here. Wolf Loescher on percussion from Longmont and all over, and Texas. All over the place. All right. Well, those first two albums, Going Home and Rolling Heart, were from the brand new album. Christopher Smith and Friends. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've just recently been turned on to the album,
I
and we were
appreciate that.
lucky enough to get you guys in today. And
Thank you.
how all you meet here? I mean, you're all spread out along the Front Range, and why don't you tell us a little bit of the history of how you got
The
together?
short history or the long history?
Short history.
Okay. The short history is I've been in bands my whole life, and the band I was in prior is basically on a indefinite hiatus. And out of my need to play music and not having sort of an outlet, I did the most challenging thing to myself, which is what most terrifies me. And what terrifies me most is performing solo. So I forced myself to do a solo show, half of which was solo acoustic. The other half, I just grabbed a bunch of people from other past bands
That you played with
that I've
previously.
played with in the past, and they've never played together until this show at that moment. So basically, going back to high school, Brian and I went to high school together. We would play in jazz band, and like in between songs, we would irritate the teacher by playing John Fogerty songs and stuff. We kind of
Good
bonded
choice.
that way, yeah. And so Andy, I've known since the mid '90s. We were in a band together called Rhino to Rhino. And we've remained good friends. Tom and Linda both here were in a group called Hotfoot. And Tom was the lead singer, harmonica player. Linda's obviously the keyboardist. I played bass in that band. And they were a blues band started by Tom and a dear friend of ours who's sadly passed recently. And so it means extra. It means extra to me to have them in the same room at the same time because we all
It
kind
doesn't
of
feel so
bonded over
solo.
that. Yes.
What
It's-
about Wolf?
And so Wolf, I actually met. I saw him in Denver playing with a guy from Ireland who now lives in Texas called Pat Byrne. And I was told by a friend of a friend who said, I got to check this guy out. And he blew my mind. He was so good. He played percussion with him. And he just seemed like someone I wanted to know regardless. So we've become good friends. He's a solo artist in his own right, so it's just a real happy family in this situation. I want to briefly just say there's one other guy who couldn't make it today.
A dobro player.
He's a huge part of this group. His name is Marty Humphreys. And so we just wanted to give him a bit of love.
It's okay, there's no room for him today anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to be in the hall, Marty.
All right. So, Christopher, I'll ask you first. Are you a full-time musician now?
No.
What's paying the bills for you?
I'm a digital marketing manager at a music store in Boulder.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm allowed to name names, but I'm in Boulder doing that, doing social media and website stuff. And I also do some retail, of course. But I've been there quite a while. And again, this whole music thing is a brand new thing for me as a solo artist. So I'm just getting my feet wet. I'm really wanting to play more and make it my full-time thing. But at this point, everyone's kind of doing
Everybody
everything.
wants to do that.
Exactly.
So, how did you get into music originally? You said that you've been playing for quite a while now, and you've
Yeah.
known a lot of these people since even high school.
Yeah.
Did you come from a musical family, or was it a teacher at school? or-
No. And like my dad would imitate Elvis once in a while, but no one in my family was musical. And it's strange because I was always musical and I was always artistic, and no one else in the family was. No offense, family, but they always thought I was the black sheep of the family. But so I just had this love of music that it took me a long time to figure out, oh, that's what I like. Oh, this is what I like. And when I was in school, for example, learning what harmony was. Every time I would hear something on the radio, I always sang the higher part. It
Were
was
you in
just
choir?
natural. I was not in choir, but a friend of mine who was in choir, Laura Clinton, if you're out there, hi, she was singing what I like to sing. And I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, that's called harmony. So my whole life, I was like, harmony, that's my thing. That's my main jam, And so it just grew from there. And then, so now, obviously, this is it's a whole new world doing lead. I'm still figuring that out.
You mentioned Fogerty earlier. Were you
Yes.
and Brian Creedence fans or something growing up? Or?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Fogerty's actually in my top 10 all-time favorites, even though we don't really cover any of his stuff, but I'm a huge fan, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you get back into a couple more stuff. First of all, we'll just do Troubles from the new album. And
Actually,
that's,
this is going to be Troubles. next.
yeah.
Sorry.
And is it Troubles, and then we'll talk a little bit more after Troubles. But this is a good tune off the new album, Christopher Smith and Friends.
Appreciate that. 2, 3, 4. The sun is pounding, can't beat the heat. And I hear you shouting as you come down my street. And got troubles of my own, troubles of my own. And the luck ain't turning, well, neither is mine. And you say you're hungry, but you're wasting your time. Got troubles of my own. Troubles of my own. People telling me we all belong, but you don't belong right here in my way. Keeping me from my pay. Don't wanna wind up with even less if you carry on. You've had some bad breaks, well so have I. What makes you think I'm better off in your eye? Got troubles of my own, troubles of my own. Some bad breaks, can't deny it. But if my will breaks, I'll blacken your eye. And got troubles of my own, troubles of my own. That's what I said, just keep on moving, keep singing your blues. Can't you understand? I ain't got nothing to lose. Troubles of my own.
Christopher Smith and friends here on KRFC's Live at Lunch. Excuse me. I'm going to speak a little bit with Andy Harrington. I'm sure people watching today are a little interested about your bass and how that came about. A lot easier to carry around than a full stand-up bass, I'm sure.
Yes.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about the story on this?
Well, back when I was playing with Chris, we were having a hard time getting gigs, so we would busk out on the Pearl Street Mall. And at the time, they didn't allow you to play amplified. So what I came up with was a washtub bass, and we played that, and then we actually
single string,
like boom, 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 you know, and
just like a skiffle band.
And so we did sort of bluegrassy versions of weird prog songs. It was kind of odd, but the second graders loved it, and so we ended up playing some gigs with that, and then I started getting dissatisfied with the action on the washtub bass, and I made a prototype, which I cobbled together in, I don't remember how long it took, a week or something like that. And I played that for about 20 years with various groups and whatnot. And it flew to Vegas and Pennsylvania and all that. And then about 4 months ago, something told me it was time to make the real one. And so I put this together. I had been carrying around some of this wood for 30 years.
What is that? Cherry maple?
So the back is maple with walnut in the stripe, and this is babinga. on the front.
Interesting. And no frets.
What's that? No frets. You know, it's the first performance was actually at Chris's CD release party with it. Mm-hmm. I did have Sol Vista in Lafayette do the nut work. Because I just figured that it was probably
precision.
Better. Yeah, and they said you don't really want to mess around with that, and that was great. But I did, just sort of figure out like how big was a real, because I don't actually own an upright bass, so I had to sort of figure that all out.
What's her name?
Actually, this is the Easel. I do have that's the Easel too, I guess. But I do have a bass named Faylene and another bass that I've named as well. So.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking here, and it looks like I said, you're from Connecticut. How'd you find your way out from Connecticut to here?
I went to Vassar College, and I had a music degree and nothing to do. And a friend of mine said, you should move out to Boulder. So I did.
Where people with music degrees and nothing to do live
for a while, right? So, a year later, the drummer that I played with in college moved out, and then after a search, we ended up with Chris as a guitarist, and we played for 5 years or something lived together, toured together,
slept together. Okay.
That's another story.
Yeah,
that's
but
the next show.
That's what brought me out to Colorado.
Yeah, excellent. So, well, welcome.
Thank
Glad
you.
you stayed. And I'm going to skip over here. I'm a little interested too to speak with Linda. How you doing on keyboards there? Grab your mic. All right.
Got to do the thing. Got to do it right. Hi.
So, you're obviously you're from California originally and found your way out to Boulder. What's the story there?
Well, let's see. I was kind of in the middle of my life, and I was looking for a new start, and I came out to go to Naropa in
Institute.
Boulder, and I did a master's degree in music therapy. And then worked for many years.
Are you a music therapist then also?
I'm retired from that field, but I worked as a music therapist for many years.
Yeah, music's therapy anyway.
It is. It is. It always was. It was kind of like when I heard that it was an actual career that you could do and get paid for. It was like a light bulb went off, and I thought, oh yeah,
that's
I'm gonna do that. So I've worked with like the whole age range from young kids to hospice, and it was very rewarding when I did it.
So, were you always a keyboardist and accordion, or did you start on one and then the other?
The accordion is relatively new, and I still kind of feel like I'm just always learning. So I started playing piano when I was a little kid, though, just your very typical.
Because you wanted to, or did your parents make you? No,
actually, the story was that, so my mom is a very good singer, and I guess she...
Was she professional?
No. I think she did a little bit when she was younger. She got married pretty young, had kids. She's always found opportunities to sing, though, through her life. And I guess the story was that she was taking piano lessons, and I wouldn't leave her alone. She sat down at the piano, I sat down at the piano.
You're playing chopsticks while she's trying to play Beethoven.
So I think she got me lessons just to, kind of give me my own thing to do. And, yeah, it was kind of...
And it stuck to you.
It really stuck for me. And I think even just from an early age, I just, really resonated. And music was therapy. Music was kind of my thing.
Especially, it sounds musical family. Was your father into music too?
Yeah, he played clarinet.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so they were more jazz, big band, that generation.
What did you listen to growing up?
Let's see. Well, there was a big prog era there. We talk about that. We all kind of enjoy some of that old Yes and Genesis and Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Straubs.
So that was the thing too. When I realized, this is really cool keyboard stuff. Like, keyboard can be cool.
You're a Rick Wakeman fan, huh?
I was a big Rick Wakeman fan. That's nerdy to say.
No.
And then at some point I got into the Grateful Dead, and that was a thing too. And
whoa, that's quite a change though, from Yes to Grateful Dead.
Yeah, but I think it was the improvisation that also drew me a lot to that music, and then was always really interested in jazz and listening to jazz. So kind of all over the place. I don't know. Yep, like a lot of different kinds of music.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to let you guys get back into two more here. Let It Happen and Better Than That. I know Let It Happen's on the new album. Is Better Than That? Yep,
It
Better
is.
Than That's on there too. And of course, the new album is Christopher Smith and Friends here on Live at Lunch.
1, 2, 3, 4. Who I was, who I am, who I long to be. Where I go, where I've been, all I hope to see. How I spend my time, how I take what's mine or not, or let it be. Fighting or suppressing, abiding or expressing. Well, I let it happen. I let it happen. I let it happen. Only got myself to blame. Who I know, who I don't, who I keep all spine. Who I like, who I love, who I don't love in return. How I keep this whole shit right. Seem to seek a beacon in the foggy night. Contented or obsessing, denying or confessing. Well, I let it happen. I let it happen. I let it happen. Only got myself to blame. Stand off on. This ain't calm at all. Look within and begin to take the credit or the blame. One and the same. Stand off on. This ain't calm at all. Look within and begin to take the credit or the blame. One and the same. Who I know, who I was, who I want to be. All of these and needs and pleas, all they all come back to me. How I keep this old ship right. How I seem to seek a beacon in the foggy night. Foggy night. Regressing or regressing, internalizing or expressing. Oh, I let it happen. I let it happen. I let it happen. Only got myself to blame. I let it happen. I let it happen. I let it happen. Only got myself to blame. We'll need each other if we're gonna figure it out. We'll need each other getting over the wall. Without one another, we'll remain in no man's land. I thought we were better than that. Can't we do better than that? Do you remember the way it all began? How these dying embers were once a fire. And back when we were brothers,
Brother, nothing held us back. We couldn't get better than that. We can't get better than that. But now our house of cards is on the ground. That old November wind brought it right down. Well, I never thought our roots were anything but sound. You said winds may blow, well they've blown. And even with so much unknown, I still loved you. Am I really nothing but a thorn in your side? How can I right the wrongs you kept to yourself? If the card of opinion leaves me boxed up on your shelf, I leave to be better than that. I'm flawed but better than that. Shadows and glow. And even with so much unknown, I still love you. We'll need each other if we're gonna figure it out. We might even recover in spite of it all. Go against one another. We're just pointing an eye for an eye. Why are we better than that? I wanna be better than that. Don't you? Don't you? Don't you?
Christopher Smith and Friends here on KRFC's Live at Lunch. I had to let those little cymbal chimes just kind of ring out there. And speaking of that, Wolf, what the heck got you into doing just percussion? Obviously, you're a drummer too, but you're doing mostly just percussion here these days, it seems like. What got you into that?
Well, it mostly keeps me off of drugs and out of gangs.
That's what I've heard.
Plus, you know, chicks dig it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Especially when you're using all the appendages there.
yeah. Well, I'm a percussionist from way back, basically in utero, and in marching band and all that stuff. And I played kit drums for a long time, and then I got tired of dragging all my stuff into a venue and setting it all up and tearing it all down. We're like the Marines, first in, last out, right? Yeah. And so I
So you can
figured,
just take a suitcase full of smaller percussives.
Exactly.
And djembe or whatever.
Exactly. And I let him do all the work.
Yeah.
And,
So was your family into percussion? I mean,
Nope.
was something that
No.
grabbed you when you were young that said, hey, let's do this?
The way I was inspired is my family was all in band, marching band and symphonic band in Central Texas. And so we were dragged to all the performances of my older siblings. One played trumpet, one played trombone. And so while I'm sitting there, I'm looking in the back, and there are these guys with long hair and attempts at mustaches, and they're in the back, and they're just kind of hanging out, and every, 72 bars, they get up and whack something, and they go sit down again. I said, that's the job for me.
A gong or a cymbal or
Yeah.
whatever, yeah. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, well, that's cool. That's what, so as a percussive musician, what kind of music thrills you these days?
Well, somebody mentioned Mickey Hart, who's
The Dead.
the drummer for Grateful Dead. I'm not a big Grateful Dead guy, but Mickey Hart has done some wonderful things with percussion, Kodo drummers, things like that. The band that actually got me playing this stuff was a band called Old Blind Dogs from Scotland, because I did 3 tours in Scotland where I got interested in the music and the culture and the history. And that was a band that took traditional Scottish folk songs and added world percussion to it. And that was the first time I'd heard that. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I can carry around one drum instead of a whole set, then that's a job for me. So
Yeah. And you also have solo stuff out too that you're doing?
that is true. Along came March 2020 where I decided to come out with my second ever solo album, and I was going to sweep across this nation like some great big sweeping thing. But that was not to be.
COVID shut down all music pretty much.
But it was a good thing because I've never been a solo performer. I've always been kind of like Chris, where I've always been in an ensemble and wanted to play with other people. And so I actually had to invent myself as a solo artist, and I did that on Facebook Live, which I'm still doing to this day, 3 years later, every Saturday night at 7 o'clock on Facebook, if you want to come see that.
And that's Loescher is the last name.
That's correct.
Wolf Loescher.
Yeah, the website's wololoco.com. That's Wolf Loescher, Wolo, Longmont, Colorado, Loco, because this is where I live now.
Catchy.
I know.
And hard to forget. All right. That's
Easier to
good.
spell.
All right. So, and I'm going to hit your neighbor right behind you there on the drums, Brian Bodley.
Yes, sir.
And Brian, always a drummer?
Yes.
Yeah?
Pretty much I started in junior high when I just had wooden stirring sticks and the arms of the couch. And my mom finally...
Said you need to be in band or whatever?
Yeah, she definitely promoted that. And I had my first kit was a Yamaha, but we lived in apartments. It wasn't exactly easy to play them. I'd have like an hour and a half of
Before
a window
the neighbors got home
every
and
week
kicked you
to
out.
play, and that was all I got. But and then, long story short, I met Chris in jazz band with a couple of other people that became my lifelong friends, and we did kind of like Linda was talking about. Some of the first band I was in was with Chris, and a lot of it was that prog stuff. Genesis, King Crimson, stuff that as a high school drummer I probably didn't have any business trying to even attempt, but we made it happen. We had a lot of fun. We had concerts even at the high school where people were just scratching their head going, what is this? But we got better and we've stayed friends, and it's like I wouldn't have known then that we'd be talking today in this particular configuration.
Are you playing in other bands in addition to this one?
Yes, I am. There's another singer-songwriter based out of Denver named Jeffrey Dallet, and it's either under the Dallet Band or just Jeffrey Dallet as a solo artist. Dallet spelled like ballet, but with the D as in David. And right now he's doing a solo tour of the Southwest, so the southwestern states. When he comes back, I'll join up with him. We're working on some new songs, and I've been with him for about 4 years or so.
Cool. Do you have music out on CD? Digital?
Yes.
Okay.
There's one CD called Acid Tongue, and it's under the Dallet Band.
That sounds like something from King Crimson right there.
It's actually it's a lot more straightforward than it sounds.
Okay.
But it's some good stuff.
All right. Well, and then I'm going to jump over to the harmonica, Tom Pakele.
Yeah,
Did I get it right?
That's right.
And then, I just assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, you must have been listening to blues growing up?
Well, I grew up in the 70s, so I was listening to everything from Motown and then to like any kind of late 60s, 70s rock stuff that, they played on the radio or I was into some kind of heavy, like Led Zeppelin 1, that's sort of blues right there.
Zepp has some harmonica on
there's some harmonica
on the levee
there,
breaks or whatever on 4. So
yeah, I'd have one harmonica and I tried to play to the radio, and and I'd be like, this doesn't sound right. No,
Yeah.
oh, this sounds pretty good. So because you have to align the key
Keys
of the
up,
song,
yeah.
etc. But I really got into blues more like when I was in college. My friend had a Sonny Terry, Brownie McGee.
And if you have to learn harp,
record.
that's a great place
Yeah.
to start, huh?
So the country harp, and got into Chicago blues and
Muddy Waters or James Cotton or
that's right, Little Walter, that sort
Little
of thing.
Walter,
Yep.
absolutely. Mm-hmm. Nice. Are you playing in other bands yourself?
Well, I play with the trio GPS. For years, like Chris said, I was playing with Sean, and we had a duo, and then we'd play with the band. We'd get extra people and do a gig and stuff. But, he just passed away very recently, so sort of took a hiatus. I started writing a lot, and Chris has done a little bit of recording for me. And I play with a trio GPS. We're going to be at Porch Fest in Boulder coming up here in September 17th.
I think September 17th, Porch Fest.
And actually, my brother-in-law can't do it, John Garson. So Chris is going to play bass for us along with Scott Spambauer. And then we're going to rush over to the Chili Fest over at the Pottery Lab and play Chris Smith and Friends.
All right. Well, Linda, I'm going to have to give you a chance, too. I know you're playing in other bands, and you're probably anxious to share what you're doing with these other bands. And who are you playing with?
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity. So I play with a band that's out of Lyons, Colorado, called the Maydays. And
What type of music's that?
Well, it's a little bit of a lot of different things. We do some jazz, swing, we have 4 amazing singers, so we do a lot of kind of Andrews Sisters type harmonies, and like I said, some jazz, swing, gypsy jazz, but there's also some rock and rolls, there's some reggae and ska.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, and it's a really fun group of people. And
When's the next gig for those guys?
Let's see, we got a private party coming up. We're playing Oscar Blues in November. I think it might be November 11th. Yeah, working on getting some more. I think we're too big to fit in the studio, unfortunately.
Total of how many musicians?
9.
Yeah.
Or actually, we just now we've got kind of a guitar player that comes and sits in on a few songs, and now we have a fiddle player coming in, sitting in on a few songs.
Wow.
So we could say 10 altogether, but just maybe not all at the same
time. All right.
We have a lot of fun.
Sounds great. Well, I'm going to let you guys get back into the music here. And let's see, The Devil in Me.
Correct.
And Nobody's Home. No, The Devil in Me, we'll do that first, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
And why don't you tell me a little backstory on that one?
Oh, my goodness. Well, very little backstory. This song, I'll just say that it's about blame. It's about forgiveness. It's about redemption. It's also about owning up to your own stuff. It's about, heaven and hell. It's about just trying to find your way in this crazy world. It originally started off as an idea about somebody who would sin and then have his soul saved on the weekend, and back and forth and back and forth. And so the soul is being traded back and forth. That's the very, very brief version. I've got a lot more to tell you, but off camera.
We'll get in the lyrics.
All right. Just the devil in me on a darkened road. Crossing paths, I caught his glance of embered coal. And that's all I can recall. Not much else at all, save for the helpless feeling of lost control. And how the devil deceived in his devil ways. He
got me drunk and told me just what hell to raise. And now I feel so ashamed to fall prey to his game, leaving these bridges I cross left in flames. Praying, but I'm paying. Why is my will so easily up for claim? Praying, but they're saying that I'm the only devil here who should be blamed. Just the devil in me. Everywhere I go, he's always telling me things he knows I shouldn't know. He whispers lies in my ear, what I wanna hear, and year after year I've bought in, but now it's time. Forgive me, Father, I've sinned, and He begged my soul. My last confession was last week, I'm sure you know. And I'll repent, I swear. Just bless me with your prayer, and pray tell now, what can I do to spare the fire? Praying, but I'm paying. Why am I always easily played and shamed? Praying, but people keep saying that I'm the only devil here to blame, the only one and the same, the devil in me.
Christopher Smith and friends here on KRFC's Live at Lunch. You guys will be playing September 9th at the Black Buzzard Oscar Blues in Denver.
That's correct, yeah.
And then September 17th at the Chili Bowl Festival in Boulder on the
That's
Hill.
right.
That sounds like a fun time.
It's a blast.
Music and chili.
Yes.
Can't go wrong.
What could possibly go wrong?
And I'm going to take just a second here. I want to thank the crew today here of Live at Lunch. You know, Colton Boening and Greg Douras on the audio, who did a fantastic job as always. Eric Delano and Dan Perez today on the video. Thank you very much. You guys always do a fantastic job. I'd like to remind our listeners that you can always go to our KRFC YouTube channel, which is RadioVision. And you can see all of the acts, past, present, and future, especially if you go and you subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and you'll get a notification each week who the artist is that week. And it's a great way to stay on top of Colorado and national musicians on Live at Lunch. Guys, is there anything that we didn't touch base on today that you'd like to bring up before we let you close out the last
I think
two songs?
we covered it pretty well.
All right.
Yeah.
Feeling good?
I'm just now getting comfortable. So.
All right. Well, that's good. So we have two more songs.
All right.
Nobody's Home and Oughta Be you're going to leave us out with today. And thanks again to Christopher Smith and friends for coming in today.
And Brian.
And unfortunately, he's not here today, but it's been great having you on Live at Lunch.
You can't be in a blues band with someone like Tom, who's a great blues singer, a great harmonica player, and Linda, who's a great keyboardist, and not come with something bluesy out of it. So this song came from my experience with them. So this is called Nobody's Home. 1, 2, 3. Nobody's home, but you keep knocking. Nobody's home, it's plain to see. Their curtains are drawn, now get to walking. Whatever you're wanting, it's not in the cards to be. Move on. Nobody's home, but you keep shouting. Nobody's home, the lights are out. It's 2 in the morning, stop your shouting. The neighbors are waking and you're making the dogs one out. Move on, move on, move on. Yeah, it's time to go. Move on. Make me get my phone. You're not the only one who's angry and alone. Nobody's home, but you keep knocking. Nobody's home, it's 2:45. Just leave it alone. Now get to walking. Whatever you're wanting, it's not in the cards to be. Move on. Move on. Move on. Yeah, you tried. Now go. Go. Move on. I'm calling 911. You're not the only one who's angry and alone. Living in the middle of what is an Oughta Be. Slipping in a little bit of harmony. Stuck here living in the past while dying to be free. Living in the middle of what is an Oughta Be. You can't ignore the writing on the wall. The world is gone to hell, death awaits us all. Yelling at the TV while I sip my Irish tea, living in the middle of what is in Oughta Be. My heart is an ocean, rising as the full moon holds my time. White caps of emotion crashing on rocky shores, nullified. Stuck here living in the past, long dying to be free, living in the middle of what is in Oughta Be. Too eager to complain, too tired to fight. Inner demons keeping me down and up at night. Knowing what I'd change if only you were up to me, living in the middle of what is in Oughta Be. My heart is an ocean, rising as the full moon goes my time. White caps of emotion crashing on rocky shores, nullified. Knowing what I'd change if only you were up to me, living in the middle of what is I'm Oughta Be. Love and pain and loss and gain, in fact and fantasy, living in the middle of what is I'm Oughta Be. Oh, Oughta Be.
Thank you for listening to Live at Lunch, and thank you to the Music District here in the heart of Fort Collins, Colorado. Live at Lunch is produced by KRFC 88.9 FM in the Ginger and Baker studio. If you'd like to appear on Live at Lunch, email our music director, David Vacek, at david@krfcfm.org.